Hi, we're the Brights coming to you live.
From Corona Fighting Central. Is it
Fighting.
Corona or COVID fighting?
Oh, you mean like, I thought you meant like we were fighting. Like,
Oh, no.
like...
We're fighting Corona, COVID,
Yes.
SARS, bird disease, mad cow, Beirut bombing, what else?
Anything.
We've survived it.
That's right.
In the name of Jesus.
Hurricane Harvey. Yes.
Flood our house.
That's right. We came back. There's so many things I want to talk
it's
about
all
right
good.
now.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Or
this
tomorrow,
afternoon.
or this afternoon, or this morning, whenever you're watching this. Because if you're watching it on YouTube, it could be any time.
That's right.
So we've done a couple of videos over the last couple of years about narcissistic, like personality. No, toxic. That's what it was. Remember, we did some like toxic traits, toxic personality.
Yeah.
But we didn't really talk about. I don't know that we've kind of mixed it in over time, but over the different videos. But we've never really specifically said what are some good traits that you should have as a married person. Because we have a lot of single ladies that watch that are believing for spouses, and so they're like, what do I look for? And some of them have been married before and they don't want to make the same mistakes, and some have never been married and they're afraid to get married because they're like, how do you choose? We know all the obvious things.
And there's some guys that don't want any cray
yes,
ladies too.
Yeah, that's true. And
I was cray.
You were cray. You were on that toxic list. I think we
That's
both were.
because you like projects.
Yeah,
baby.
yeah.
You wanted a project.
No more projects. No project. Okay, y'all know, if y'all have ever heard us talk to pre-marriage people, or to people that maybe not even pre-marriage, maybe you're not even dating someone, but if you're looking or thinking one day you're going to have a spouse, no projects. That's my favorite thing to say, and that is no projects, because how much time do you have? Like, especially if you're older. Like, we got married when we were older, like to each other older, and so it could have not worked out. I mean, like, it could have not. We couldn't.
It could have gone bad.
It could have gone south. So, and it
Not
almost
that it
did
wasn't
several
bad
times.
enough.
Right. And so, what if it hadn't have? And then those 17 years had passed, and now we're beep beep how old we are, and then what? Like, you just keep on going, trying over and over. So no projects, and so we tell
red flags or red flags.
Red flags, and
yellow flags or yellow flags.
But you know what? I'm asking people now. People that are having problems in their marriage or having problems with someone they're dating. I ask them now. So was that? Did you see that whenever you were dating? Yeah, was that a red flag?
Uh-huh.
And yeah. And either they ignored it or they just didn't know about red flags. So.
I thought it would change after we got married. I thought my love for him or my love for her would strengthen her, and they would change.
Or we would change them.
Yeah.
Like I try to change you and you try to change me. So what
did
are
I
some
have that were the characteristics that were good?
Well, we have. Oh, good. Okay, I was going to say we already have videos about toxic. So, but I think something, and just to say this, to preface this before we start, and this isn't like a list in any order. These are just some kind of things that we've kind of talked about in the last, like just talking about today. So when we came on here, but we haven't mastered them all. I'm just going to say that. And some days we are really good at some of them. Some of them are just like no-brainers now. They're part of their habits. But some of them we still struggle with. Some of them we still work on. Some of them we have to go back to the drawing board. And so, like I said, not in any particular order, but one good thing when you're looking for someone, or if you're already married. So this doesn't mean you see this list and you're married already, and you're like, well, he doesn't have any of those, or she doesn't have any, and you're gonna like go find somebody else. Be Mr. Right, be Mrs. Right, and that's how you will attract it. That's how you will change your spouse. You don't have to try to change them. They will want to be better and do better when they see you walking in. Doing these things. You do these things and God will work on the other things. So there's obvious things like we want them to love the Lord. We want them to read the word. We want them to tithe their income. Like if you're Christian, like that's for us, or those are, no, we didn't have any of those at the beginning. But now we tell our kids and we
want this and this and this.
Pray together. Right. We didn't have those things, but now looking back, those are non-negotiable.
Qualities that would have just propelled us so much sooner. Because there's a time we stop living as me. You'll hear us talk about this and start to live as we. And on average, that takes 9 to 14 years. From the time you say I do, you have 9 to 14 years to us living as we.
Yes.
Right? That's a lot of time, folks. Most people get divorced way before that because they just don't think they married the right person.
And we can attest to that. Like, we're 17 years in this, and it probably was in the last 3 or 4 years where things finally started to get over the top a little bit, and finally got to where we started gaining a little traction. And it was like, okay, it's not as hard as it was, but it was hard. And some of these things would have been so great, but so no non-negotiable things, like we said: love God, read your word, tithe, go to church on a regular basis. But we also know people that are, have a job. We know people that are seeing someone, or they meet people in church, and they are church people. They are all those things, or maybe they just look like that on the outside, but they don't have the other things going on the inside. So you could play church, you can be churchy, or you can be so over the top religious that you're not doing the other things because you're trying to, I don't know, be this religious person. But so one of the things is being a good listener.
What did you say?
That was good, honey. That was good.
Thank you.
I'm going to fix this there a little bit. Okay. So, yeah, being a good listener.
So what you said was...
And clarifying conscience, saying it back, like repeating back what the person said. This is not being a good listener.
I heard you. I heard you.
Go ahead.
I heard you the first time.
Really? Oh, wait. What did you say?
Why am I asking you again for a second time?
And then sometimes we're bad at that. And so I used to get angry about it, or he would just be like, get frustrated with me. But what we learned is we just get silent. Like, we're not going to sit there and dog the other person or tell them about how they never... We just get quiet. And as soon as the other person gets quiet, I don't know why, that is so much more effective than badgering them or being sarcastic or whatever. Put your phone in. Yeah. It's just being quiet. Because we're like, as soon as I'm quiet, he'll say...
I said that last night.
What?
No, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Good.
Baby, can I make you something? No, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. And so that takes us to the next thing. So
Should've made
wait
an
a
hour and a
minute. We
half
go
ago.
back to
I'm
a
good
good
now.
listener. So let's make sure that we're a good listener. And listening doesn't just mean that means actually hearing your spouse, hearing their heart, being able to communicate with them, or hear what they're saying. If they're saying the same thing over and over, then we're not hearing what they're saying. Like, we're not getting it. We need to. If you're arguing about the same old thing over and over and over, then that means you're not you're not listening to each other. You're not receiving it, and you're not communicating your heart.
And
you don't
one thing
care.
I realized was that if she says it over and over and over and over, well, apparently it is important to her.
Yeah,
and even though it's not important to me, it could be on her important list, it's a 10. And on mine, it's a negative 10. It doesn't mean that I can just blow it off. It means that it needs to be a 10 for me as well, right? Because if it's important to her, it has to be of the same importance to me.
And it could be that it's a truth. It could be something that I believe to be true that he doesn't believe to be true, or that he just wasn't raised that way, or it's not his truth. But it doesn't make it not a truth. Like, his truth, just because that's what he believed or not believed, doesn't. And I say, well, that's stupid. We used to do that all the time. Richard especially did that to me. Where, I would say something and he would go, well, I think that's stupid. You shouldn't think that way. You shouldn't feel like that. Especially my feelings. You shouldn't feel like that.
Don't be judging out there in judgy land,
thanks.
All right?
Yeah, as soon as your husband says, you shouldn't feel that way, let me just tell you a tip. Or your spouse, it could be me or feel. You're not immediately, the other person doesn't go, oh, wow.
You're right.
Thank
that
you.
was so stupid.
That was stupid. And I'm
As
over
a matter
it
of
now.
fact, I feel stupid just saying that.
And I'm over it.
You were
No, it doesn't
so
work
right,
that way.
baby.
Yes,
You
it
know?
doesn't work that way.
Do me a favor. Every time I do something or say something stupid,
Just tell
please
me
tell
how
me how
stupid I
stupid I
am.
was. That
That's another
conversation
trait.
that's never happened.
That doesn't work.
That's never happened.
Doesn't happen. So another good trait to have, or mad skill to have, is: are you being thoughtful? Are you looking? So if you're looking for someone, or you're in marriage and you can work on this thing, and that is being thoughtful and compassionate towards your spouse and towards other people.
Oh my gosh! In the beginning, we used to look for everything wrong, everything that our spouse.
Critical.
Oh my God! It was like, and we had a list of everything that they had done wrong all week, all month, put it together in a binder, so annually we could
Hold on.
revisit.
We have it tabbed.
Oh, I didn't do that last week. Oh no, it wasn't last week. But back in December of 07, you
Right
did.
there, right there.
I have it written here. Infliction number 1. But that's what we used to do. But now, instead of that, I look for ways to help. I look for things that she normally does on a regular basis, and I try to help her. Hey, let me do that. And usually she says, no, I've got it. Is there anything I can do to help you? No, I got it. So I have to watch it. In the morning, I kind of let her do her thing. But in the afternoon, I kind of watch, and if she goes to do something, I try to do it with her. So that even if it's for a minute or 30 seconds, we're just doing something together.
It's
you
like
know?
also, are we doing stuff to have? How can we make our spouse's life easier? You know, like I'll go pick up the dry cleaning for Richard, or he just went to Costco right before we did this video, and he, you know, I could have gone this week while he's working, but he's like, you know what, I got a little time, let me run up there. What's your list? If you need something else, grab it. That's a huge thing to me. I love acts of service is my number one love language. So when you take stuff off my plate, when he's thoughtful and compassionate, and so I have to be thoughtful and compassionate for the things that speak to him. So sometimes we're like that love language thing. We're doing thoughtful things that we think are thoughtful, but to the other person,
right,
that's
like mowing the grass. That's acts of service. But to her, yes, she likes her yard to look nice, but that's not like, oh baby, thank you so much for doing that lard looks good.
But if you clean the hairs or you clean the toothpaste out of the sink,
right.
I am like,
or
whoop,
I
whoop.
put my underwear back, I roll it right and put it
Yes.
all back, instead of just digging through something and then
like,
leaving it. You know, and I put it back the way she would put it in there, and I put the dishes where they're supposed to go, and
those kind of things. But he knows that
know.
about me now. You know, I know that things like that doesn't, to him, he couldn't care less if I put the things organized or whatever, but he knows other things are important to me. And then I have to watch the things that are important to him, and I'm like, okay, I make sure that we don't run out of certain things. Like he doesn't say, can you get my soap? Can you get the deodorant? Every once in a while he'll go get it before I have a chance to do it, but just being thoughtful and trying to just
That's
think
really
about
good.
the stuff
Getting
before.
it before they need it.
Yes.
Like there's certain creams that she uses in her coffee. There's just certain things, and I like to get those before she runs out.
Yeah.
Because I just want her to know that I'm thinking about it. Now, there was a time I could have cared a less. You know?
Cared a less?
Cared a less.
Cared a less. That's a new word.
I could have cared a less. that was with my Italian. Yeah. I'm going to make you a deal you can't refuse.
I
an offer.
less.
I'm going to make you an offer. I could have cared a less. Is that what kind of
I
lizard
don't-
is
I
that? It's a cared a less.
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Well, there's a fer-de-lance snake.
Oh,
Fer-de-lance. So
see,
cared a
I
less.
would never have
It's a cared a less.
Okay, so I could have cared less. So
I make up words.
Yes.
Well, that's what my mom used to do.
yes, we have
Hey,
Richardisms. So we're going to do a video about Richardisms. Richard has words like supposedly.
supposedly. We were supposed to, but supposedly something happened and we weren't able to.
He has a whole list of words that he says wrong. Cause, it's a whole other video.
It was
but
inherited.
We love about,
I
yes,
inherited
he
from my
inherited
mother.
his
I didn't want
mother.
that. Do you
Yeah.
understand? I did not want those things. That's not something that I wanted. That's the way my mother made me.
Yeah.
Like she said, baby, mijito, you got charisma.
Yeah.
All right? You have charisma. So I'm like, man, thanks, mom. I didn't know I had charisma.
Yeah.
You know, most people have charisma, but
You
no,
were special.
I had
You had mad
I had
skills.
I had charisma.
You had
all right? That's
charisma.
extra.
So we want to be thoughtful and kind and compassionate, and not just to each other, but to our kids, to people. Like I love now that when Richard and I first met, we wouldn't have given a dime to any. Well, we didn't have a dime to give.
We hated
anyone.
everybody
We didn't have a
anyway.
dime to give anyone, but we just weren't. We weren't.
Givers.
We weren't generous at all. Like I was not raised that. We were just thought like we're not.
We're gonna run out.
Yes, we're gonna run out. And now what we've learned is you can't outgive God. Like we give. I have to be careful going through Facebook because I'm like, oh, look at that GoFundMe. Oh my gosh, let me give him $100. And then I'm like, I don't even know that person. But I just get like this heart thing. Like what happened to me? That was not me. Most of my. It's not how
That
we
was
were
never
raised.
me.
Never us. But since we have become that way, when we started tithing our income, we started giving. It's like we can't give it away fast enough because we know God just blesses us in so many other areas, and it's not all about financial things. But it's you can't outgive God. So being
it's health and
Yeah.
blessings and favor and friendships and I mean it's crazy.
Yeah, God
It's
math is crazy. And when you see that in your spouse, like when I see Richard being generous and compassionate and thoughtful, that's like, okay, like that's way sexy to me, way sexy, way more than just being sexy. I mean, like just that women, we love that kind of stuff. I think we like that security. We like to see that in our spouse. One of the things that we super struggled with, well, I struggled with it with Richard because I was always angry about it, was being reliable. Remember? Because when I first met you, like you're a 7 on the Enneagram, so he's just all about being free. He's just about like no rules, no time slots, No.
No, we got to be on time.
On time,
But-
and I'm saying, but you weren't a planner. Like nothing
No.
had to have. It was like,
Plan.
hey guys, we're about to eat. I've got everything set. I've been slaving all day over all this food, and hey guys, go wash your hands. We're gonna sit down and we're gonna have dinner as a family. And Richard's like, oh, we're about to go play frisbee golf. What? I mean, that's how our life was those first few years. It was a constant. He was on his way home, and then all of a sudden, 2 hours later, she's not home. I'm like, what? Oh, I took the kids. We went go-kart riding. Like, what? So, but, you know, those were funny things. But being
Oh, my
reliable.
gosh.
We weren't reliable
In the
with...
spirit of letting things go.
Well,
You
we're
sure bring
talking
it up
about
a
it,
lot.
though. We're talking about it now. I mean, now I'm so thankful because he's super reliable. Like, he's just such a...
I got my
Good
times
guy.
down. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll be home. I got 3 or 4 more jobs to go do, but I'll be home about 4:30. I just got that gauge.
But not just reliable as far as what he's talking about, but
Oh,
just
yeah.
being reliable with your word. Like if you say you're going to do something, that you do it. And then we talked
It
to
took me a while to get to
Oh,
there
my
because
gosh.
I used to say, I'll do it, and I wouldn't do it. But eventually,
yeah,
you keep saying it enough and you keep trying,
yeah.
God will change your heart and change your spirit, and you start saying, you know what? If I said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I just started doing it, and before you know it, it becomes second nature. It becomes natural.
Who you are, you know? When you're your word, and we talk a lot before this pandemic. We taught a pre-marriage class every week, and one of the things that was a thing that almost always somebody would talk about, one of the ladies especially would say, I want him to do what he says he's going to do. Like if he tells me he's going to do that he follows through with it, you know? So I think when we are reliable, when we're our word, and when we follow through and we do what we say, that's a huge trait in marriage. And it's going to cause you to have so much less stress and strife when you become that person. Which leads us into being reliable, but also being honest and trustworthy. We weren't always honest and trustworthy when we were first together about lots of things, about how we were spending our money.
Well,
About-
that all came because even though we were married, we were supposed to be truthful and honest and open with one another because of the past with my ex and your past with your exes. There was still trust, even though we were supposed to trust one another.
Yeah, we had major trust
Explicitly,
issues.
we had trust issues, so we had to like test the waters. You know, it was kind of like, okay, give it a little more, give a little more, give a little more, until we trust each other. And it just took time, you know, and I don't suggest anybody do that because it's brutal.
Yeah,
It's
is.
brutal. It tears into a marriage.
And I mean, my personality is fiercely loyal. So I was like, what are you doing? Like, how can you? I would never do this to you. I used to remember always telling him that I would never. Now I would do certain things like about money and things
Now,
like
we'll
that.
go shopping and
Yeah,
hide the
and hide the
clothes
stuff,
in the
yes.
trunk
So I wasn't trustworthy that
and
way.
bring
But
it in 3 days later. That way, did you just get that?
no, I've had this.
I've had it.
This whole thing. Which is better than when I was married the first time. When I was really young and I was married, my next door neighbor and I would both buy clothes, and our husbands would get mad. So I would go stick them in her trunk. And then I would wait until late into night, and I'd sneak over and I'd get them out of her trunk, or she'd put them in my trunk if she bought something. Yeah, so hey, just being real.
Do not take notes on
No,
that.
don't take notes. I'm just telling you, it's so much better when you live in. That's why I'm not married anymore the first time. But just to
I
have
was
that
like, "You're not."
trust
I thought we said I do.
and to be
Everybody.
honest and to be loyal, because we didn't have trust. Like I spent a lot of time, some of y'all know our story, but I spent a lot of time. Richard said I could have been one woman. What's it called?
Blonde inspection agency. How can I help you? What did he do wrong? We'll nail him to the cross.
Inspection agent?
I
What
mean,
is it? Wait, what is it? Like when you're you
investigation.
Hire, yeah.
One blonde investigator. What did he do?
Yes.
I'll prove it.
Yeah.
We'll hang him
Oh
on a
my
cross.
I spent so much time looking at stuff online, trying to see where his car was,
Oh
see what he
my
was spending
gosh.
at the store, what
She
places
was
he was
good.
in.
She was good.
But why was I doing that?
Because you couldn't trust me. You had all that extra time on your hands.
But I spent so much time trying to catch him and find out things he was doing wrong, and he was in the wrong places he shouldn't have been, spending money at places he shouldn't have been, all these things, and it ate my life up. I mean, it was just like stealing my joy. But when I got to a point where I just said, you know what, whatever it is, what it is. Like I'm not your keeper.
But it
I'm
wasn't
not-
like we were praying and going to church, reading out. We were trying to do a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we didn't have something to hold us accountable. So it wasn't like, oh, whatever, just do whatever. It wasn't that. We
Not
were working through things.
right.
We were
Because if I had
trying
done
to-
that at the very beginning, you'd have been like, whoop whoop.
Yeah.
My wife is the coolest wife ever. But
When
we
she
were
said that we
trying.
need to continue dating. Oh my gosh, she is so cool.
Best wife ever. Uh,
She said, I meant each other.
Yeah, I met each other. I'm glad you added that. But when we became more loyal and trustworthy, and when I didn't have to watch him all the time and catch him with stuff, when I let it go and I gave it to God, God worked on Richard, and God, like, he was like, Sherry, you got to work on your trust stuff, like whatever. What if he never changes, you know? And when I kind of just let it be, God, like I said, God's changed his heart, and it's just such a different place to live when you live with trust, where you've got each other's passwords and you can look at each other's computers or social media.
You know, when we're
It's-
teachable, when we have a
Yeah.
teachable heart, when
Yeah.
we have a
Yeah.
receivable heart, that's when things make the difference. That's when the Holy Spirit imparts something on us. You know,
And so we also want to have a good trait to have is friendship. Is to be friends with each other. And we weren't friends with each other at the beginning. Like at first when we met each other, we were in stalk with each other. Like it was just all about lust. And then once that kind of was starting to wear off, where it wasn't just every time you walk into a room and like real life started to set in, we were like, what? We don't have anything. We have no foundation. Like we have zero things in common. We don't have like
we don't think the same.
No,
we
like
don't
everything.
eat the same. We don't spin the same.
No,
We don't
everything
act the
was
same.
opposite for us. And we were just like, how are we going to stay married? Like, we just didn't think we could do it. So we had to be very intentional about finding things that we could do together. And a lot of it became new things. Like we went and took a comedy class. You know, we've taken sushi classes. We've gone to now we belong to like the Christian Comedy Conference, and so every year we go to that conference. There's so many things now we do, but we have a ministry together, but we had to be super intentional about having things in common. And there's still things. He's still an individual. I'm still an individual. There's still things that he likes to do way more than I do. Like I'm not the biggest, huge fisherman. He goes fishing 99% more than I go fishing with him. But occasionally I do go fishing with him. But we still have things that we like to do that are separate, but we had to find things that would keep us together as a team and keep our heart. Another thing was praying. We say this, I think, almost every video, but that is praying together. It's a huge trait to have as a married couple. Yeah. A couple more things is to follow peace, to have. What were you saying yesterday about conflict? If you're looking for a fight, like you were saying,
there's not going to be any resolution. If one person is looking for a fight, they've come to fight. All right. So I don't care. You could bring whatever. You could bring everything that they're wanting. They have a list of demands. You could bring those list of demands, and that's still not good enough because they're coming to fight. Right? And you cannot reason with anybody who's wanting to fight.
That's true. And when we heard at church, I don't know, a few years ago, they kept saying, follow peace. And I was like, I ain't following peace. I'm getting to the bottom. We're going to duke this out. There's no peace until we have peace. But if you put that in your mind as a thing that you go, you know what, we're going to follow peace, whether that's in decisions that we make financially, whether that's in our arguments, whether that's in when you're dealing with stuff with the kids, when you're thinking about what you want to say to your spouse, but you're like, should I say it? But you probably shouldn't say it. Follow peace. If you just always go, am I following peace right now? Then, and that helps with your friendships, everything. That was a big changer for us, right? To be, and neither one of us are peaceful people. Like that's not like a natural trait for us to be. We were talking to some friends Friday night. Like none of us have peace. Like we're not peaceful people naturally, but we've had to acquire that skill. So another one is to laugh with each other, to have humor with each other. Richard and I laugh a lot together. We have a game that we play. It's called
If
When
So-and-so
and
So-and-so
had a baby. And I know it sounds so silly, but this is one of the things that's between us. It's like our history that nobody...
But man, y'all can play this too.
You can play this game too.
When you see somebody, you're like, that person looks like
like
so-and-so.
So-and-so.
But they also
look
like so-and-so. If so-and-so and so-and-so had a baby, it would look like him.
Because you see people all the time,
Oh
you're like,
my
oh my
gosh.
gosh, that looks like what's your name? So, Can I say the one like from Lakewood? Lakewood. Okay, so we have this. The guy sings amazingly. Torrin Wells is probably the best Christian singer. I just love him. He's in our church.
Great.
He's so
Very
great. Talented. He and his wife both amazing. And he's so cool, and he's so cute, and he dances like Michael Jackson, but he kind of looks like Steve Urkel. So we were like, if Steve Urkel and Michael Jackson had a baby, and all you guys that are literal like, well, two boys can't have a baby. That's not how you play the game. You play the game. It could be a girl and a boy. It could be two boys. It could be two girls. It's not about all that. Okay, it's not a biblical game. It's just they happen to look. And when you start playing it, like we'll go somewhere and we're like, that's so and so had a baby, and we start doing it with our friends, and they play it now too, and they're like, oh my gosh, and it's just I don't even know how we get off of that whole thing.
You will laugh. It's always good for a laugh.
Yes, it's called so and so had a baby,
because
and we made it famous here right now. We're copyrighting.
When somebody says it, like she'll say, if so and so had a baby. But I'll look at them and say like, nope it's so and so and so
oh my
and
gosh,
so.
we can't say it. Last night we were watching somebody on TV, and because we can't say because it was sometimes it could hurt people's feelings. So that's why we laugh together. That's that inner joke. But it was that last night was the first time we did a girl or a lady and a man together. Because I said if the two ladies had a baby, and he's like, nope, it's this lady and this guy, our friend, had a baby. Oh my gosh, we were laughing so hard. We were like crying.
That was like the time that man, I was sitting there, we were walking somewhere, and these two girls, they go, are you that famous actor? And I was all like, excuse me? And then, I mean, all of a sudden they had my attention, you know?
They're like, well, maybe.
Yes. And I go, Nicolas Cage, because I used to get that a lot. And they were like, no, not him.
Oh, yeah. John,
the other guy.
Can I say it?
And then I'm like, I'm trying to be all suave, you know? And I'm like, who? And then the one girl goes, the comedian. And I'm thinking, what comedian?
Jon Lovitz.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Crusher.
So Richard was like, he's like sticking a knife in his eye.
Oh my gosh.
But so we have a lot of fun together. We laugh a lot together. We write jokes together. We like lay in the bed in the morning and we come up with this, I don't know, we just have humor. And I think that's a great skill because there was a time that we lived grumpy most of the time. And so that's another thing. Don't be moody and grumpy. You know, we have our little times, but we can call each other out on moody and grumpy now. But there was a time it would ruin. Remember how it just be and we know friends, like not close friends of ours, but we know people, acquaintances that are moody or grumpy to each other all the time. And I just don't even know how people live like that. So make sure you're making your spouse smile more than you're making them frown. That's all I got to say.
A frown is just a smile turned upside down. See? One of those.
No, so these are just some. These are off the top. Like we were just kind of talking in the last couple of hours
about
it.
Deuce out on this thing.
Yes. So we love you guys. We just want to say, even if you're not there, you don't have these traits, work on these traits. It's gonna make your marriage better. It's gonna have more joy. You're gonna be so glad. Don't worry about if you're not where you want to be. Just remember you're not who you used to be.
That's right.
They're saying, whose baby am I? People are reading this wanting to know what you look like. Some of y'all we don't have. We don't do it for everybody. It has to be really obvious.
Yeah.
So I have to if I have to think about it.
Laura Dern.
Yeah, people always say
and
what's the other? Trisha Yearwood had a baby. It'd be me.
There you go.
Okay, so that's
how you play.
Yes,
right.
yeah. So,
like if John Lovitz and Brad Pitt had a baby, it would look like me.
I was going to say Richard Gere.
Well, there you go. That'll work too.
That's close enough. Oh, my goodness.
All right, guys.
We love
y'all very much.
Happy Sunday.
And we'll see you soon.
Whatever day you're watching it. And watch our
goodbye,
videos,
Chica.
share our videos.
Goodbye.
Share our videos. See you later. Peace out.